Hello, this is Shirunu talking. Today I've been asked often enough how I do my needle felting little toys, and I'm going to show you in steps right now. First step would be to gather your materials. This is the batting. This will be the underside, the bones if you will, of your little plush. These are my needles. I will show them in detail in a little bit. This is your felting mat. This is foam. Is that so when you stab your batting, you have a soft yet firm surface to work on without breaking your needles. Now, something I like to do, you don't have to do it if you know your character. If you're doing an original character, is I print references. Now, some people like to actually trace the batting onto the piece to make sure they got the right size. I don't do that. I probably should. But something I will always do is make sure I have every color I need before I start the project. Because if I don't and I run out, then I'm going to be sad. And here we go. I just took out the needles. These are specially made needle felting needles. I have a little like combo, if you will, a wooden knob to hold them, and 4 needles stuck together. This will make the process of needle felting the base faster because you have 4 needles at the same time instead of 1. And as you can notice, one of them got bent as I was working on one of my mother's Christmas present, and I have yet to find the time to replace it. Now let's see if I can zoom in so that you can see that then a needle felting needle has notches in it. The purpose for that is when you stab the wool, focus, when you stab the wool, it will go in, and when it comes out, it will pull some wool with it, which will cause it to get denser and denser as you work. That's what you want. As it gets denser, then you can start sculpting around, which we'll see later on in the video. Now I have several needles with several different types of notching in it, so that either you can needle felt gently or needle felt roughly faster depending on what you need to do. You want to needle felt gently when you're adding details like the spots here or the eyes. You want to do it roughly for big pieces that you're trying to color all at once. So basically, what you do, you take a piece of batting. Right now it looks really big, but you have to keep in mind that as you needle felt, the ball is going to shrink and become much more dense. So what I like to do is I try at first to shape it, at least a basic shape. Now I'm going to kind of mimic what I'm doing and not really get into it, seeing as I can't really film on top of my phone right now. So basically I take the big one. Now of course, the way I'm doing it, you have to be careful because of course these are needles, these are sharp, they will hurt. And right there you have the basic and only movement you need to know about needle felting. And you keep doing this. Ow, see, I just pricked myself because I looked at the camera instead of what I was doing. You just have to keep doing this until you have the basic shape you want, which in this case is going to be a circle. And after that, a garlic shape, because I am doing the top of my little Bulbasaur. Of course, I'm not going to film the entire process of making this ball. I'm going to run out of battery first, because you have to keep in mind, needle felting is technically easy. However, it takes a long while to do. So, of course, I would suggest watching TV, listening to music, stuff like that while you work. And always carefully. I know I always joke when somebody asks me that I just grab the needle and I just go pat, 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 pat. That's the basic movement. I just don't go as fast when I work seriously on something. And here we go. We have our basic shape of a Hershey Kiss apparently. And before I start doing the different sections of our little Bulbasaur back, I like to apply the color, because then it's going to be actually easier to carve in the details once the color is applied. So I grab some green. I try to spread it as equally as possible, and of course, if you have some blank space while you color your piece, like let's say you're needle felting and suddenly you see, oh, there's a big white spot here, just needle felt more color over it. It's gonna be pretty much seamless once you're done. So the basic of coloring a piece is the exact same as building it. You apply the color as evenly as you can, and even if you can't put it on evenly, that's okay. Just put another layer on. You grab your needle and you stab. This is going to make the underside even denser. This is what I meant when I say that the more you stab your piece, the denser and smaller it's going to get. You have to take color into account. It's going to keep the colored wool on top of your piece, but it will also make it denser because you're going in deep. Quick note, because now I'm up to coloring the little nub on the top of our little Bulbasaur bulb. To help me keep the piece in place while I needle felt, I like to take one of my needles, wrap the wool around the part I'm about to color, and pin the wool down with one of my needles instead of an actual pin or an actual sewing needle, because the nib is textured, it's really going to hold the piece in place. We now have our fully colored Bulbasaur bulb. Now notice I went really carefully, I should say roughly on the bottom part, because once it's done, we're not going to see the bottom part. It's going to be attached to the eventual Bulbasaur that's going to come with this. Now, I made the little nubbins on top, but I left the leaves to be done so I could show you what I'm doing. Now you take, hang on, this one, there we go. You take your densest needle. Mine is this little short one. That's the one I used the most for details. Now I hope I'm going to keep centered, because I'm gonna try to see what I'm doing. I am going to stab a line there. Right now I'm over the camera instead of looking through the viewfinder, and I am going to stab a line right down from this little nubbin here, right down to the bottom of my bulb. Now what this does, if you do it constantly and repeatedly, it's going to give shape to at least one side of the leaf until I make the next line. Of course, when you start going in detail, you go even slower with your needle to make sure the line stays straight. At least for this video, I'm going to do this one line. I'm going to film this one line, and when we come back, all the lines will be done, so you get a good idea of what it's going to look like. Because unlike drawing, this is not something I can actually do on the quick motion video, because it still takes a long time to get the desired effect. And I draw faster than I can needle felt, so that's where I'm getting at, basically. And here we go. See, it's already starting to make a shape. Because here you have looser wool, here you have denser wool. So, as I said earlier, this is basically sculpting. Needle felting is sculpting. Except you don't end up with clay on your fingers. And we are done. Now this video is only going to focus on the bulb. I'm not going to also film the Bulbasaur body itself. There will be a video eventually. Let's say we get 10 likes on this video, and I will also film the Bulbasaur body. How about that?